of Labor. And so U.S. Department of Labor monitors all of our grants, both formula and non-formula. And we just completed that process, kind of the quote unquote, the field work, right? Although it was done virtually, right? They just completed that work yesterday. We had a follow-up debriefing or exit conference. And so this is to give you an idea of some of the conversations that we had with DOL, and then some additional requirements that DOL is going to place on the state. And then that obviously trickles down to you as our grantee partners. So I sent out a briefing document, a one or two page Word document, or Chase, I think, was going to send that out to all the grantees. And really, the purpose of today is to just walk through that, and then have an opportunity for you all to ask questions. And then just wanted to have a discussion, and I know Patrick Campbell and the other program team is on the line too, just around the some of these reporting requirements and how you might go about obtaining some of the documents that DOL is talking about, specifically what they're calling a RAPIDS number, or an apprenticeship registration form. That's their form 671. But so that's an overview of what we're going to be talking about today. So maybe if you could flip to the next slide. So overarching, right? DOL had a lot of really great things to say about Illinois, and all of the work that you are doing as our intermediaries and navigators. They're very impressed with the amount of effort and the activities that have been shown so far in the grant, and very impressed by the level of coordination within our different partners and funding streams. I'm very impressed by the amount of outreach to businesses and the amount of thought and work that has gone into that process, and that's kind of evidenced by the number of registered apprenticeship programs that have been established. I know the state is has exceeded those targets. We've noted that, we've served, as far as individuals served, like bodies, right, workers. We know that based on the reports and what is in Illinois workNet, we know that we've served more than 650 people. The tricky part of this is that with DOL, everything has got to be put with the right definition and the right label, and have the right supporting documentation to quote unquote count that individual in the right bucket. And so that's really the focus of their follow-up to us. I should preface it by saying we haven't received the monitoring report yet. We'll get that in about 45 days, but we thought it was very important, because we don't want to shortchange ourselves as a state or as grantee partners, to basically say, well, you're not serving as many people as we actually are, right? Because when DOL looks at their system, right, they see far fewer than the 650 individuals that we're serving, and that's because of some data and reporting issues that are very complicated, but we are definitely working through, with your help, and definitely with the help of Dee and Cody Edwards and Patty Schnorr and the rest of the workNet team. We really see these grants as like an investment in apprenticeship, right? And trying to integrate apprenticeship into the workforce system, and that this really isn't a kind of a one-off grant, although we have grant specific goals. We really want to figure out how to integrate this. So a lot of what I'm saying today is definitely applicable for not only this 2019 set of grants, but also for any new grants, any new apprenticeship grants and activity moving forward. So big picture, DOL was happy with the activities. They did look at the state level activities, like kind of a combination of all of our navigators and intermediaries, but then they did a little bit of a deeper dive, and we were happy for the help and time of Elgin Community College, Rend Lake College, and the Cook County Bureau of Economic Development. They all helped and provided documents and were reviewed at a deeper level. They did a kind of a individual apprenticeship level type of review. And so with that review, they are going to, DOL will most likely issue an area of concern around our reporting. So one of the things that our workNet and reporting team found out in basically November, that the system, the electronic system that U.S. Department of Labor uses now to report apprenticeships at like the individual level, right? Because they said, for all this money, we're going to, basically they said, well, we're going to give you $2 million and you have to give us 800 new registered apprentices, right? That's like the primary benchmark. There's other things that they want to see as well, but like at the end of the day, that's their bottom line, right? So what we have figured out is that the DOL apprenticeship system will not count that like ultimate benchmark of a registered apprentice unless there is a valid Rapids ID. Okay, so that, as we pointed out here, is the key data element needed to count a registered apprenticeship is a valid Rapids identification number. And it's our understanding that to further document that, yes, we enrolled a registered apprenticeship, individuals use this form, program registration and apprenticeship agreement. It's the 671 form, and the next slide just shows kind of what just the first part of that. So many of you have probably seen this form before. Some of you may have not, right? Because when Department of Labor issued these program guidelines, they said nothing about the 671 form, at least to my knowledge. Maybe they had in passing. And also, Illinois is different in that we don't have a full-on apprenticeship office. We have an apprenticeship DOL staff that works somewhat independently. And so that's something we're working through, right, as a workforce system. So bottom line is that we're going to be requesting clarification from US DOL around this program, this registration form, this form 761. We're asking for your help because we think that of the 650 plus individuals that are currently served and are on the systems, right, we are only showing around 250 of those with Rapids IDs, right? And of those Rapids IDs, I think Cody Edwards, who's our lead programming guru with workNet, he has found that of those 250 that have IDs, over 50 of them, or even 75, they don't appear to have the Rapids ID in the right format. So it may be like a different number that you may be pulling. And so what I think Dee is just putting on a screen here is just the right format of the Rapids ID. So it basically, it starts with that. The first two letters is the IL for Illinois, and then the year in which the apprenticeship was established. And then there's 6 like additional identifier numbers. So in the system, in the workNet system, that is, there is a field that when we're done with this presentation, Dee, maybe you can show a demo of that edit customer screen where you would enter this information, this Rapids ID. So big picture, DCO is asking all of our grantees, both mostly the intermediaries, but any navigator that have been working directly with individuals, if they're either fully case managed or if they are other impacted individuals, we're asking you to look at those that you're serving and see if you have that Rapids number available. If that is available, we're asking you to post that. For fully case managed individuals, we're asking you to go directly into that customer screen and insert that information. If you are working and only serving what we call those other impacted individuals and you're reporting all of your information on a spreadsheet, we're asking you to just update your spreadsheet and make sure that you are submit a new upload with any updated information.
Hey, John. Cody, you noticed that some people were putting in the wrong Rapids ID, and that the ID that is being put in wrong is, I believe, the sector. Or can you clarify what we just discussed?
Yeah, earlier it sounded like we had a Rapids ID that was later identified as the sector for the career. So it sounded like there was just a mix-up in what type of ID was needed there. But I believe, yes, someone entered what would have been the ID for that sector of employment.
And that was entered on several, the same code was entered on several folks. So what that means is, essentially for Illinois, without that Rapids ID, what's happening is we aren't getting credit for the apprentices, the registered apprentices we actually have in the system. Of course, we were monitored on this and it came in, we have a low deliverable. So we want credit for the deliverable that you guys have achieved. But we have to make sure it's the right Rapids ID, that you're getting the right one in there, and that all registered apprentices have that ID associated with their enrollment. Otherwise, we don't get the credit for that. So in other words, if that ID isn't in there, we're not getting credit for it. And it is critical that we get that, because this reflects on Illinois' ability to meet the deliverables under our grant.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat from Kindy about, I have several 671 forms in development with DOL that are not yet approved, but started during this grant. Can you provide guidance?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So right now, you wouldn't do anything. You would not put, you would not update that information. It's our general understanding that, again, our numbers are showing that there's around 650 individuals that are being served. of which 250 had Rapids IDs, some good, some bad, right? So we're definitely, of the 250 that have Rapids IDs, you know, we want to make sure, make sure we're grabbing the right number, right? And then for the others, if you have the Rapids ID, if it's available, right, make the updates. If you don't have it, then there's nothing for you to do. Like, especially in your case where you know, it's not available yet. But as soon as that number and information is available, we're asking you to include that in the system and in your updates. So we're asking everybody to make these updates right away, because we have a report that goes to US DOL by February 15th, right? And so that's the report that, you know, for the period ending the end of December, we have to submit it by, you know, February 15th, 45 days after, right? So what we're hoping to do is, you know, this is like kind of phase one of this whole deal, right? So it's, hey, if you have this information and it's available right now, go in today or tomorrow and load it into the system. For those that you get down the road, or for those grants that you may need to do a little more legwork in getting this information, either working with the apprentice or working with the business sponsor, we understand. We're not expecting you to go and move heaven and earth and get that done, you know, before Monday, right? We understand that that's going to come down the line. But what we're trying to do is show, hey, if there's information that we can make, if we can update quick, it'll make our report for the period ending December look a little bit better. So we're asking you to do this. Hey, whatever's available, get it updated by the end of Monday so we can run our numbers, because there's other edits and other data things that Cody has to do to all this information to make sure that it's ready to get sent to DOL. Oh, and by the way, there were some other data edits that DOL did that we have to make sure work. So a lot of this is the airplane is like kind of, you know, it's flying, but it's like bouncing up and down kind of the runway like the Wright brothers a little bit, right? So it's really figuring out what this reporting procedures are going to look like and what the reporting requirements are going to look like. But we're fairly certain that we'll have this you know, come down as a requirement, you know, as we close up these 2019s, and then definitely as we look at the 2021s. So I'm going to pause there.
We have another question, John.
Yeah.
So the other question is the Rapids ID the same as the Rapids code, which is right here on the Rapids form? Is this the code located in Appendix A1? And Brian answered, Rapids ID is unique to a participant. The Rapids code from Appendix A is just indicates the occupation. So can Brian answer this next question as to where is the Rapids ID located on this 671 form?
It probably isn't there. It's generated when that form is filled out and turned into DOL. Then DOL.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, and so it is a yes, and that is one of the things that we're working with US DOL on as it relates to, and I think Diane, to your question around, well, what if an employer won't give us the number, or what if they don't know, or what if they don't care? I get it. So one thing that we're working in that type of a scenario, we're working to get access to the Rapids database, so the state staff can go in and say, well, you have this apprentice that you know you're serving, right? So you know who you're serving, right? You've got your list of 25 or 50 or however many, right? And one thing that we'll do as a follow-up, even beyond next week, is work with Lorraine and the workNet team and Chase to look at each of those individuals you're serving. And if you think they're in a registered apprenticeship, but you don't have a Rapids ID, we may have to do like a individual lookup, right? Because we may have to go back, you tell us who that person is, and then, maybe you've got a list of 10, right? That, we don't know, we don't have the IDs, or you need help, from us, or we can figure out what's the best way to get this number, right? And doing an individual lookup isn't the best approach, but it may be our last resort, and that's something that I think we're thinking through that process. So that's what we
John?
know now. Yeah.
John, at one time, Brian Richard had kind of volunteered to look up a rapid ID for participants if you couldn't get it from the employer. Brian, are you still willing to do that? And if so, can you put your email address in the chat?
I don't, we need to come up with that procedure. I don't have direct access anymore to the Rapids data.
Okay.
So
What I
we will
suggest
provide
we-
that.
yeah, and that's great too, because I think, again, this is very new, and we don't want to, you have a knee-jerk reaction to everyone, but as soon as we kind of knew that the Rapids ID was going to be an issue, we thought it important to let everyone know, again, especially in light of this upcoming reporting deadline, right? So bottom line, if you have the Rapids ID, add it. If not, and you know that you have individuals that you're serving that are in registered apprenticeships, but you've kind of exhausted the ways of, like, working with the sponsor or talking to the apprentice. If you're like, hey, we're kind of at a dead end here, talk to us, right? So I think your point of contact would be Lorraine, and copy Chase and say, hey, we need help with updating our Rapids IDs. And then we'll work with you, on a grant by grant basis if we have to. But you're absolutely right, Dee, is especially for like the 2021s, we're thinking through, like, what are our procedures? What makes the most sense here? Especially like if this is the key quote unquote data element, what makes the most sense? And frankly, we're also interested in your thoughts around this as well. It's like, how, if you're currently getting these forms from sponsors, if you're getting them from the apprentice, I don't know, maybe this is a good time to just kind of open up that discussion. How are you doing that now? And are there ways that you would recommend to the group to get that information? Open that up to anybody.
John, I have a quick question for you as a follow-up. For the other individuals impacted, will the spreadsheet that needs to be uploaded be updated to include a field for the Rapids?
It's there.
Yeah, that one, and that was actually, I actually was kind of surprised that the field was there, and we actually, as part of the review, we kind of scoured like all of our like instructions and things, and unbeknownst to me, not to say we have to know like everything that's developed for this, but there actually is a reference to the 671 form to say, oh, upload the 671 form. So we know that some, and actually, as we look in the system, there are a whole bunch of 671 forms, but there are individual apprentices that have the forms uploaded, but they don't have a Rapids ID in the system. And
I understand that for the enrolled ones, for the
Yeah.
intermediaries, but I'm talking about the other individuals impacted.
Yeah, same thing. If it's an individual, right? So fully case managed, or if you have another impacted individual, they are not gonna count that person as a registered apprentice unless we get a Rapids ID on them, one way or the other. You know what I mean? So use the other impacted individual. Again, I understand there may be challenges around getting that Rapids ID from the individuals, and that's something that we're really interested in learning from you. You know, again, are there strategies that have worked? Are there, you know, massive barriers around this? I can think of a few, more than a few barriers. But that's kind of the feedback we're looking for now.
So Kathy Meisinger put a message in the chat. Each sponsor must enter DOL RAs into the Rapids system. The 671 is filled out for each individual in that process. So Kathy, do you have access to Rapids, or are you just putting that comment in there based on experience with your employers?
No, we have as the sponsor, we have access to Rapids. And so Lisa Utley, who's our apprenticeship coordinator, fills out the 671 with each individual before she enters them for approval in the Rapids system. So any individual who is part of a DOL sponsored program theoretically has to have a 671 individualized, and therefore will have a Rapids number. So where you might have trouble, so we have 671s at all of our people.
Right.
But the thing to know for those intermediaries that are not the sponsors, if the employer is the sponsor, I would just, and we actually do have some with ICAT, that they're the sponsors, we just ask for that paperwork. And that's part of our process. They can't be in a grant without this proof.
Yeah. And so that paperwork from the sponsor employer, then, because the 671 form, right, it doesn't have a Rapids ID number. It has, like, as Brian said, it has like a code, but that's not the number, right? So
no, the Rapids ID number is once you put that person in Rapids,
right,
the 671 information,
right. And so I think that
proves, and you get a number,
right. And so, like, that's in my mind, we're kind of thinking through the workflow on that, right? So it's like, well, what is, as if you're an intermediary or even a navigator, right? So what's the ask of your sponsor employer? Say, hey, DOL needs more information. Surprise, the government needs more information, right? And we know that you've helped us out with these 5 apprentices, right? Or however many. Can you give us their Rapids number and pull a copy of their 671 form for us? Is that the right ask?
Actually, you probably, well, you may or may not, if I'm hearing you right, you're looking for the number, not the form, correct?
Well, an ideal world, DOL wants both. Right?
Oh, okay. Well, then yes, you have to ask for both that way. But if we're just looking for the number to put into workNet, that they can just simply pull off of their own Rapid spreadsheet. But if you want the application, which I will tell you, we're in conversations with a new DOL person, because ours retired, and she's giving us totally different information than what we had before, and telling us not to upload the form into
I see.
Which of course we already have. So yeah, you got to ask them then for both the form, which they have to have.
Right.
If I could jump in.
Yeah, please.
We've been in LWIA 24 in partnership with 22. We've been doing this kind of since the beginning. We actually have drafted a letter that we asked the employer to sign off on that allows us to have access to the apprenticeship in Rapids. And so when you enter someone into Rapids, the same information you're asking for to do an enrollment in IWDS or the information you're asking for another individual impacted is what goes into Rapids. And then that automatically generates that 671 form with all the information pre-populated. So you don't have to fill out yet another form. But by having that letter that says that we can have access to the apprenticeship, then we see each individual apprentice and can pull those forms or at least see their Rapids ID. And then I've had some of the employers, I've been telling them to make sure that they get each apprentice to sign that 671 and keep it in their employee file. Because at the time that we started this, it wasn't being asked for. So just ask the employer to maintain it in the employee's file.
Okay.
Cindy, do you have a draft of that letter that you could share with me that I could put on the partner page?
I'm sure we do, yeah.
Yeah, we call it an authorization or release of information, and we do one for our 5 counties for 24, and then we have one that we've done for Madison for their 4 counties, and I can send it to you. Bruce really likes it with the ATR that we deal with. Great.
And so Cindy and Lee, just as it relates to kind of your access to Rapids, is that because you are a sponsor of the program that those apprentices are placed in, or are you able to see more globally other individuals that you may be also serving?
It's either the ones we're sponsors of or the ones that we are giving some sort of service or assistance to.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. And you set that up locally with your US DOL representative?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And they gave you that access and instructions and all that and how to.
Absolutely.
Okay. And Kathy, I see you're shaking your head. So it sounds like that you kind of went through a similar process. So I'm wondering, and maybe others have had similar experience of, maybe that's part of kind of the workflow process, definitely for those that are moving forward with the 2021s, but that makes a lot of sense. If you have, you know, any of those kind of authorization documents, or wouldn't mind sending that to Patrick and I, that'd be great, and we can kind of share that. And you know, obviously we are trying to work through you know, procedures on how to give DOL what they need to see. Other thoughts on this?
Just to be clear, this is JJ. You do need both the ID number and the 671 form.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking that
Yeah.
if you have a number, a 671 form had to be done. So why would you need both?
Well, that's kind of my thought. I mean, between you and I guess everybody, right? We were told, we were told, and what we expect to see in the letter is that they want to see the Rapids ID and the form. But from a reporting standpoint, I think you're absolutely right. And there are potential issues around PII or potential barriers from employers that we would anticipate from sending that 671 around, because it has the individual. A number is a number, and who knows what the heck a Rapids ID number is in the world, right? So to me, quote unquote, like the easy ask of an employer or a sponsor is, hey, we've served these 5 people. Can you give us the Rapids ID number for each of those? But when you start saying, can you give me these forms as well, then that may be a bigger ask. So that would be part of our of our documentation within the file. And again, we're learning what that requirement is. And so you'll probably note in that briefing that we sent out, we're asking you to upload the 671 form if it is available. So
Right.
we're
But John,
following.
I think an important point here too is, you know, we don't want to have you put the number in, and then we have another meeting in 3 months, and we say, oh, guess what? You have to have that data validation document as well. And so, you know, apologetically, obviously, we can't anticipate what Department of Labor is going to require next. And so if you're going to that effort anyway, I would just go ahead and capture what you can for data validation for the file as well.
Okay,
I
so
can jump
John,
in.
for the other impacted individuals, you just need the Rapids ID number, because there's no way that the employer is going to give me the form that they filled out 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, the contact is gone.
Right. I think what Patrick is suggesting is that, you know, the ask has been, at a minimum, the Rapids ID is needed, and they're requesting the 671 forms. You come back and you tell us that the employer has an issue or a concern and the form is not available, then from my perspective, that's going to be the answer. We'll work with you on a case by, you know, on a grant by grant basis to see what, if any, additional follow-up is going to be needed.
That would be a case notable moment.
Yeah.
Can I jump in and ask a question regarding the 671? The part that I've seen and looked at the closest has been the part that involves the apprentice. And that's probably why DOL is wanting to see it, because I think it's the first page. The apprentice needs to sign it saying that the employer can report to DOL the information needed for the completion of the apprenticeship. But what I've been seeing on the screen looks like it's more geared towards the employer. So is there two, like,
Oh, this is an old
671
form,
forms, like an
Cindy.
A and B, or?
This looks like an older form.
Yeah.
This was just they just remodified the 671 in October.
I just did a search, so they must not have the current stuff out on OMB.
There's a lot more information on the one we're using than what you've shown. And
I was gonna say,
also,
the one I've been seeing does ask for like social security number on the apprentice. But I think if you choose when you enter the apprentice, if you put that the social security number is not available, or that's the form I'm referring to right there.
Yep. And that's my understanding as well. So
Yeah,
go ahead,
or
sorry.
put the last four.
Yeah.
and so dealing with some of these larger companies that don't want to give you personal information, so we send them the release of authorization release for us to put the information in Rapids on their apprentices, and along with the new program form that we send to labor, and we send both of those forms in at the very start. It's helped us recently with a rather large employer, 30,000 in healthcare, where once we got to the part where we needed the information for the 671, they said, no, we can't provide that. But what happens was they had the individuals contact us individually, and we got the information. But because we had the release, we were able to go in and put the information in. So, so that kind of removes a barrier.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think that this is really great intel, and Cindy and Lee and others. I definitely think we want to follow up with you, especially again as we look to the 2021s on what's the best procedure around this. And so I, you know, as it relates to monitoring, right? Because that's where my realm is more around the, you know, they from in the gold standard is this form, because it shows all the, you know, who they are and what they're doing and what job and what wage, and then it has a signature of the participant, right? So they love that. They love that, and you know, that level of verification. But again, that may not always be available. But from a reporting standpoint, and now I'm getting into Cody's world, right? If we don't have that Rapids ID number, then we can't report it, verify it, and our numbers look a lot less than they actually are. So
I have a
Craig,
question.
yeah.
So, okay, this is Appendix B, isn't that Appendix B what you were showing there? Right? So that's different than the 671. But so the Appendix B wouldn't work with the Rapids code?
So we will get clarification on precisely what document they want, because I think there may be a couple that are flying out there. My understanding again is just this one page, this program registration and apprenticeship agreements it's the one page that has the individual apprentice information. And so we will share that with everyone. It's not the program level one.
The form I've got up on the screen right now is the one that's on the partner page. It's updated as of 1/31/2020. And the one that you were showing, John, was from 2018. So I don't know if they have a newer version than this or not. So we'll have to do a little bit of digging.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's so any other thoughts around this?
Yeah, there were a couple other comments. Where can the form be uploaded? I'm going to demonstrate that. And then Sherry asked, the 671 form asks individuals on the last page to indicate on a voluntary basis where or not they have a disability. Is this protected information? And then Kathy replied, DOL has removed the IWD form from the 671, and it's now a separate form to be held outside the individual's file. And then Josh commented, this reminds me of the way we handle the selective service forms and numbers. I think we need to work with DOL as a way to find the Rapids ID utilizing the information we already have.
Right.
And then Luis Bermudez said, point of clarity, we have to have apprentice fill out 671 form first and then input into Rapid system. Does the Rapid ID number get generated then? And I believe from previous conversation, the answer is yes.
Yes, I think that's correct as well.
Yep.
Do we know if the Rapids number is tied to their social security number? Because we have their social security number. Is there any way, like you said, get connected and
right? And Craig, that would be it. I think that as we talk about, as you go back and look at all of your individuals that you're serving, some of you may have Rapids numbers that you're able to pull if you're a sponsor or connected as sponsor. Sounds like we got a mix of those folks who have access, which is awesome. And then some of you may not. So if you do not have a way of getting that Rapids ID number, those are the ones that we want to hear from you. So contact Lorraine and Chase with that list of those individuals. And then what we'll do is we'll game plan. Well, let's figure out how to get this either through the state's access or some other means. I don't know, right? But let us know. And again, what we're asking in this next steps is, review all your records. For those who are fully case managed, you're going to have to go in on an individual basis, right, to that individual screen and update that Rapids ID number in the right format. For the other impacted individuals, we're asking you to submit an updated spreadsheet. Again, if you have your records, you're like, well, I don't have any other Rapids ID numbers, and I'm sending Lorraine a message saying I need help trying to figure this out, that's okay. So we're asking you to do this by Monday so we can update DOL with the latest information that we have. And then from there, in the next couple of weeks and months, we'll be working to get more clarity from US DOL and working to establish what are the right procedures, definitely for the 2021 grants, right? So we can, kind of get this out at the outset of the awards as opposed to the back end. So we appreciate everybody's patience with this, and we know that it is not ideal as it relates to gathering information after the fact. With that, if there are any other kind of comments around that, just general information, we had some other time set for D to just kind of to demo, especially for those case managed participants, like where you would go, just as a reminder again, to where you would go and enter this information in the workNet, as well as uploading documents into workNet. So Dee, you want to show us those screens?
Sure. And while you're watching all of this, there are 73 people logged into this webinar, and I only have 53 who have marked attendance. And based on the email associated with your login, we'll be able to tell what agency you're with. So if you could please find the poll on your screen and answer that for me, I would truly appreciate it. And then what I'm going to show you right now is from your, I'm in test right now, so this is not real data. We have access to your group. So if you actually happen to have access to more than one group in the IWIS system, and we are calling this the Illinois Workforce Integration System now rather than the Customer Support Center. So if you hear me reference IWIS, then you know that I'm talking about what you might have used to call the Customer Support Center. So in the IWIS system, you will pick your group to which you have access for Apprenticeship Illinois. You'll pick a person by their last name. And then you've got two spots where you can update the Rapids ID for that participant. You can either go to their career plan and work on it from their services, their steps and services in their career plan, or you can do it from the outcome page under the services section on the outcomes page. If you have added the registered apprenticeship program, you will also be asked if you are doing an OJT and or if you are doing a skills enhancement and upgrade. So you'll need to answer that as well. But the spot where we do want to have this information is in the registered apprenticeship program wrap. And on here, you'll click the pencil. And on this first page where it comes out, status default, then it will ask you to select a goal. We have a generic goal to participate in the Apprenticeship Illinois program. You want to mark it as started or open or successful completion if they're already done and you're catching up. Start dates, the SOC code, and if you click in this box, it will pull up a search tool that you can enter an industry, select that, and that will automatically add that SOC code for you. And then here is where you put the Rapids ID. And I do know that I was working with one of the agencies the other day. They needed to look up the Rapids ID for everybody. You do have the ability to come back into this service and update that number so that you can get it in the proper format. Cody is going to implement a verification check to make sure that you have the right format. And we are going to add some text information so that it says what the format is required. For example, dates often say 2 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits. So we're going to put that formatting in up here so that you'll know what format you need to report. Other than that, we just need hourly wage at entry. What's the type of program? Because we do need that information. Plan due date, how many hours are they going to be working on it? And then update the customer service. With that verification check that Cody will be inputting, you will not be able to, once he has that verification in there, you won't be able to update the customer service until you have that correct formatting. But up until that point, if you actually have somebody to input and you've got an improper ID in there right now, you will be able to go in and correct it. So this is in the customer's career plan. You can access it from the career plan by going to where it says add steps and services, and you can add a step or service here. Once it's there, you click the pencil. If you want to add it from the outcomes page, you can go to the services right here, add the step or service here, click the pencil to edit it here. Once you've got it added into the system, it will show up in the purple boxes. So this is only here until you've entered some actual information. Now, the other item that we had questions about is the uploads. So if you want to upload a 671 form or their career plan or their eligibility agreement, you can click on this Uploads tab on the customer profile and upload a file. And if you upload a file, it will ask you what type of document it is. So we've got the employment documents, eligibility documents. The 671 form would more than likely fall underneath the eligibility documents so that you can just pick and be consistent. Then you choose a file that you've scanned in. I always suggest that you write a description when you are uploading the file, because if the name of the file is not self-explanatory, then you have to open up every file to look at what it is that you're trying to find. So when you, after you've added it, it will show up in a table here with the file name, the description, what category was it under, who uploaded it, when did they upload it, and do you need to remove that document to upload a different one. Those are the pieces to cover the information for the Rapids ID. Now let's go and talk about how to add or upload the OII information. If you go to the item that looks like a bar graph, you can click that. It will open up to the reports page. And once you're on this page, you scroll down, depending on what other programs you have access to, you'll scroll until you find the Apprenticeship Illinois reports page. On this page, sorry, my Teams is blowing up right now, so that's why you're hearing all those beeps. On here, you'll pick who your provider is if you happen to have access to more than one as a state person. So John or Patrick, if you're looking at this, you'll be able to pick who the provider is. You can filter by participant type to see the list of customers that are in the system already. With the other individuals impacted, it does not automatically filter. If you've already entered the person, it may enter them a second time. So you need to check who's in there first before you add the information. We've got instructions up here. So then if you want to upload the information, you just click on this button for upload other individuals impacted. We have the spreadsheet right here so that you can download the form. It will give you all of the fields that are required. And on here, it says form last updated 10/21/21. So we will have that information available. And on here, it's asking for the occupational code. It's asking for the apprentice's full social security number. It's asking for the Rapids ID. And it is asking for a date of birth as portions of the required fields. So the Rapids ID is way out here. So you will need to add that information into this form and then uploaded it. So after you fill in the data, you can choose your file here and then click upload, and it will upload the information into the system. And then you'll be able to filter by participant type if there is OII, or if there is case managed individuals. Right now, for the 2019 grant, the admin team has decided that you will be uploading incumbent workers as OII individuals. So if they are in the incumbent worker system right now, you will enter them into the IWIS system for the 2019 grant as OII on this spreadsheet.
Need 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
I see there's an export option.
Yes.
Will it export all of that information so that all we have to do is add to that export? Or do we have to complete a new form?
No, sorry, this is Cody. Whatever you put into the system, you'll get back out with that export.
Okay, and I have now forgot my other question. Will the original that we originally uploaded then be deleted once we upload the?
It will match based on the social security number. So
Okay.
if you have someone already in the system, it'll just update that information based on the social security number.
For the
thanks.
OII, Cody?
For the OII, yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Cody.
You're welcome.
All right, and then Lisa Brackett, what were you looking for, Lisa? I didn't see a question. You can open up your mic if you want to. And then last but not least, the link to the partner page, if you have not already seen it, it is available here. On the front page of the partner page, we have a calendar link for upcoming events, and then a link or a listing of our past events. We do not send out calendar reminders. You need to put that in your calendar yourself, but you can join the webinar straight from this page. Okay, are there any other questions that you have about the system, the IWIS system itself? Or questions for John or Patrick?
Well, to close it out, or as you're thinking of any final things, I know we're right at 2 o'clock. I just want to thank you all again for your all the work that you've done with these grants and your patience as we work through the kind of additional reporting requirements. And if you do have concerns, connect with Patrick or Lorraine or myself, and we'll work through these, right? Because we know that there's a lot of individual circumstances around each grant, and again, this whole thing is to make sure that we're in good paper with US DOL, who funds our projects, both the 19s and the 21s, and moving forward. So if there aren't any questions, I think we'll go ahead and close it out, and definitely feel free to reach out as you think of other things that may be helpful for us, as we develop these procedures and or any issues and concerns moving forward. So thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Bye.
Thank you.